My name is Heather Slesser, the Marathon County Extension Agriculture Educator. Today, I am joined by Dr. Louise Ferraretto, Extension Ruminant Nutrition Specialist in the Department of Animal and Dairy Sciences, and Liz Van Versi, the Agriculture Educator for Extension Brown County, and Matthew Lippert, the Agriculture Educator for Extension Clark and Wood Counties. Today, they are going to speak with us about their fact sheet entitled Summer Feeding Storage and Feed Bunk Management. Louise, in the article, you talk about heterofermentative microbial inoculants. Can you tell us what these are and why they are used?
Heterofermentative microbial inoculants are basically bacterial inoculants that we typically add to corn silage, high moisture corn, or basically every type of silage containing high levels of starch. Because this type of silage, they typically do not have high aerobic stability. So basically they deteriorate too fast. This particular type of bacteria, they have the ability to use water-soluble carbohydrates in the fermentation process to generate lactate and acetate, or alternatively, they have the ability to convert lactate to acetate and 1,2-propanediol. The benefits of having acetate throughout the silage fermentation process is that acetate inhibits yeast proliferation. And this is of particular importance at opening because when oxygen enters the silo and yeast starts proliferating, if you have good levels of acetate, you will delay this proliferation of yeasts, and consequently, the feed will take longer to deteriorate. During the summertime, when temperatures are high, this issue is exacerbated. So because of that, typically suggest farmers that are feeding a lot of high moisture corn or corn silage during the summertime to really consider using some of those heterofermentative microbial inoculants.
Matt, could you explain different ways to minimize the spoilage of the total mixed rations?
As Luis already mentioned, there are things you can do at the time that you're baking the feed and putting in the bunker as far as choice of inoculants, but also details like making sure that you have a well-packed bunker. A bunker that's been covered quickly will give you more stable feed. Obviously, you can't change that on the day that you're feeding. So some things to look at when you're actually feeding out is to possibly make smaller batches, feed more frequently during the day. Another thing you could do is you can actually purchase products that will typically acidify or stabilize your TMR mix. So if you're facing a problem that you just can't address any other way, it adds expense to your ration, but there are things you can do as far as that. And I think it would be a good idea to review what you have that's highly fermentable in your ration and maybe change those levels a little bit. So if you're adding whey or molasses or something that's got highly fermentable ingredients like sugar in it, and maybe making it wetter when that's also going to make bacteria that are going to create heat or yeast more happy. Maybe you want to pull out some of those highly fermentable ingredients. Those are some of your choices. Smaller batch sizes, maybe change the time of day you feed. You can add ingredients, or you can look at what's highly fermentable in your ration and consider if they're necessary at the level that you're feeding.
Liz, can you discuss with us some of the best management practices that can be used with summer feed storage and feed bunk management?
There are some best management practices we can use, especially as the heat outside increases. One of those is to remove enough feed so that we prevent spoilage, but we also don't want to remove too much feed and have that sit on the ground and also spoil. So it's getting that kind of happy medium. And so research out from UW-Madison has shown that about, at least 12 inches in the summer months is a good recommendation to remove to prevent feed spoilage. And just doing some, rough calculations that, over removing by even just 1 inch can really add up after day, week after week, month after month, year after year, that if you took, an inch off of your corn silage pile and an extra inch off of your alfalfa hay pile, that could add up to losses of over $24,000 a year based off of some current corn prices. So again, even just a little bit can go a long way there. Another recommendation is to use a facer instead of a bucket. Well, there's twofold reasons why we want to do this. The first one is we get a much flatter face at that bunker, so we have less air that's hitting that feed and spoiling it. but we also have a reduced risk of having overhangs and have a safety issue there as well. So if you're using bags or bunkers, we want to check that plastic, make sure there aren't any punctures or any animal damage or things like that that would expose that feed to air. We want to monitor for any signs of spoilage that we can see, obviously take care of them right away. And especially in the heat of the summer months, if we can feed more frequently, take advantage of some of the cooler times in the day, that might also help.
Thank you all for being here today and sharing this wonderful information about your fact sheet.